Welcome. P-2 and 5S have some rich and significant lore to discuss. I also apologize for the absence and delay. It has been a very stressful few months, and more often than not, I only desire to return home and unwind by playing games. I'm also mentally ill and not getting treatment, so... Anyway, it's ultra-killing time. You enter the second prime sanctum within heresy just before Gabriel's fight. In Dante's Inferno, heresy is the layer immediately before entering the city of Dis, a bastardization of Heaven's palace. The sixth layer and below are sins that are more proactive, out of deliberate malice and wickedness. This contrasts Limbo through Wrath, who simply have unlikable personalities. I think this is reflected well in the game. These towers and cathedrals are the city heights, while P2 has the player walking through the abandoned streets. Something important to note is that while the requirement to P-rank all of Act 2 remains, you must also complete P1 by killing Minos. You need not P-rank it, just complete it. I will bring this back up later. Within P2 are several enemies from all of the factions. I believe the Husks are here as fellow insurrectionists for Sisyphus. The demons and angels are here just to keep watch, and the machines are just here, I guess. After killing all of the previous enemies, you enter a heavily guarded chamber. Some people find it bewildering why Lust technology is inside heresy, and I agree. Lust was a technologically advanced civilization. While heresy may have been abandoned for a long time, I doubt the creators of this section knew that something perilous would be housed within. It makes more sense that these locks and doors would be built after Sisyphus was imprisoned. Why the same technology exists in two cities is strange, but it might simply be Hakita reusing assets. I don't think it goes any deeper than that. During the fight with the panopticon, its spawn is not the weak fleshy eyes that the prison had. Instead, these spawns look more solid and have spotlights where they look, similar to the large eyes in Gluttony. This fight is short, as Sisyphus becomes awakened and breaks out of his prison. In his terminal entry, it stated that Sisyphus already started forming into a prime soul after his beheading by Gabriel. The panopticon might be superior to Minos' prison, but the prison is what kept Minos from forming into a prime soul in the first place, and using that power to escape himself. Sisyphus, meanwhile, was already a prime soul. However, he was dormant inside the panopticon. That's why you were warned before the fight not to get noticed by the panopticon, to avoid waking Sisyphus and him breaking out. If you're still unconvinced, if you somehow kill the panopticon quicker than Sisyphus can break out, Sisyphus in his prime soul form simply drops to the ground and begins his monologue, instead of ripping apart his captor and then monologuing. This contrasts Minos, who wasn't a prime soul yet, and needed the prison to be destroyed before he could finally transform before your eyes. In this monologue by Sisyphus, he mentions that the blood of Minos stains your hands. Remember that you simply needed to complete P1 to enter P2. As mentioned in my previous lore video, attacking and killing Minos doesn't matter to the story. You could say that two timelines are created in this room, one where you avoid the chamber, and another where you enter it. Deaths are not canon, so entering and dying is not part of the timeline. And I doubt that leaving the layer after it has begun is canon either. So once you enter, the canon says you either kill Minos here, or if you leave, you never actually entered at all. Within the timeline where you enter P1 and kill Minos, another timeline opens in 6-2, where you killed Minos but avoided Sisyphus, or you killed Minos and progressed to kill Sisyphus. But you cannot kill Sisyphus without killing Minos first, meaning there is an order to the Prime Sanctums. But it makes no difference to which timeline you choose to partake in, big picture wise. When you kill Sisyphus and read the terminal at the end, we get a theorized report on the symbiotic relationship hinted at in the previous Prime Sanctum. The team behind the Hell exploration built the elevators and terminals at the beginning and end of every level. When exploration was abandoned, they soon developed better technology to communicate remotely with the terminals. It also mentions an error message as to why the Hell exploration was abruptly abandoned. I will mention this later. Between abandonment and remote communication, the terminals have begun to feel a pretty human emotion: boredom. Their access to new information was cut off, and thus, while they could communicate with each other, it was only already known information. Once the machines started raiding Hell, the machines started to scavenge what they could from their teleportation mechanisms, and trade that with the machines left behind in exchange for entertainment. That is, the machines record their battles for survival in Hell, and the footage is graded based on its entertainment value and used as points in exchange for goods and services such as new weaponry. The ranking system at the end of every level is canon. The closest terminal records your playthrough, giving it a rank based on how badass you are, and giving you the equivalent number of points on your profile. You can then use those points to let the machines give you different weapons or swap them out, hoping you will become more entertaining to them. This satiates the boredom of the terminals and helps the machine clean house in Hell. It also says the terminals have social hierarchy, where the ones that have a P rank are considered more valuable than those that only have a D rank. You give them worth, machine. Finally, the terminal says they have acquired enough information to simulate enemies within a simulation space they call the cyber grind. This allows machines to practice their skills inside their head without actual destruction. At the same time, multiple terminals watch as the audience, cheering on stylish play and wave clears. And sighing pensively on conclusion. Interesting to learn that these terminals exhibit human-like emotions and wants, including boredom and a desire to barter. In 5S, you are tasked with catching multiple kinds of fish, many of which reference other games and even real life. Once you catch all of the fish, you are appalled by the sheer badassery that Peter and Hakita have acquired the size 2 fish already. After you spend a few days crying and pissing and shitting, the terminal presents another poem from God. Shut up! Shut up! Father, why eternal torment? Is it not cruel? Is torture unending truly a fate fit for a fool? An angel so bright and beautiful asked me this, and I could find no answer, for I could never face the guilt of what I had done. My regret, a gnawing cancer. In my hour of weakness, terror possessed me then, and I cast Lucifer, too, into the infernal den. Once I had realized what I had done, could only weep as I sank slowly into the depths of despair. Deep. Oh, so deep. Perhaps Lucifer didn't rise against God in a rebellion over the flawed nature of humans and God's command for angels to guide them, but he simply questioned the reasoning behind hell. God was already despairing over hell, and in a panic, he impulsively banished Lucifer into hell. And when he regained his senses, he felt even worse. First, this confirms the existence of Lucifer in ULTRAKILL. Before this moment, we only had a single mention, a Devil May Cry reference from Gabriel's first fight with us.
You make even the devil cry!
Now, Lucifer is mentioned by name from a reputable source, explaining his eventual warp into Satan. This might also be one reason why God disappeared. He simply could not bear the burden being the creator of hell. But why? Was he simply ashamed of casting human souls into the lake of fire? Probably not. It turns out, there is something in hell that even God is powerless against. Something that could drive even the omnipotent creator of the universe into insanity. This depraved force might just be the answer to our biggest questions.